Hello and welcome back to the Java series. In this video, we will learn how to compare objects to each other. So if we were to create two date objects and set them to the same values, we could simply use the equality operator, right? Okay, the reason that didn't work is that it merely compares the references to the objects, not the objects themselves. Even though the date objects have the same values, they are still two separate objects. The equality operator would not know how to tell that the objects are equal. In a previous video, I mentioned two methods found in the object class, toString and equals. Here is where the equals method comes in. In our date class, we should override equals as well to report whether the object is equal. Because the parameter is of type object, we should use the instance of operator to determine whether the object passed is in fact a date object. If it's not a date object, then it's not equal and we return false. Now, instead of applying the equality operator, which should be used for primitives, we now call the equals method instead. Whether two objects are equal or not is one thing. Exactly how they are different is another. Is one object greater than or less than the other? To resolve this, our date class should extend java.lang.comparable, an interface that contains the abstract method called Comparator that takes in another object and returns an int. If this object is less than the parameter object, return a negative. If the objects are equal, then the method should return 0. And if this object is greater than, return a positive. I should also say that for two objects for which compare2 would return 0, it is recommended that the equals method also return true. However, this is not mandatory, and for any class that deviates away from this behavior, it should be documented accordingly. Objects that implement comparable are said to have a natural ordering. For instance, our date class would be naturally ordered by the date they represent. An object that represents a later date would have a higher ordering than an object representing an earlier date. Another mechanism for sorting is to implement the comparator interface. If we wanted to use comparator to sort our date class, it wouldn't be the date class that implements it, but a separate class. This would come in handy if we wanted to have multiple means of sorting an object type. For instance, we could have a comparator that sorts by year, another one that sorts by month, and a third that sorts by day. Each of the three classes would have to implement the compare method and are subject to similar rules to the compare2 method, with the first parameter taking the role of this. One powerful application for either comparable or the comparator was introduced in Java 8 in the Streams API. Streams take in a collection of objects and provide a series of methods, including sorted. When sorted has no parameters, the objects in the collection are expected to have a natural ordering. However, this is not the case when the method takes in a comparator. Thank you for watching, and join me in my next Java video where we go over generics.